Welcome to Breaking the Line, the ECNL Podcast, a bi-weekly look at all things related to the growing elite clubs nationally, the ECNL. For more information on the ECNL, visit us at www.theecnl.com. Now, here's your host for Breaking the Line, the ECNL Podcast, former U.S. Soccer press officer and longtime soccer broadcaster, Dean Linke.
I am Dean Linke. This is Breaking the Line, the ECNL Podcast, and the ECNL, fresh off the ECNL Showcase North Carolina. So we're joined by Jen Winnagle, who was joined by 184 ECNL teams in the Triad of North Carolina. Super successful, coaches everywhere. The recruiting dead period has been lifted, and off we go. Jen Winnagle with an update on that event and future events. Always love spending time with Jen. And then Shelley Smith, the 20-year head coach at South Carolina, the University of South Carolina, the Gamecocks. 20 years she's been there. She actually was celebrating her 25th wedding anniversary yesterday as well with Jamie Smith, who works with her at the University of South Carolina. What a pleasure to have Shelley Smith on, albeit for a short time, because I wanted her to get back to Charleston and enjoying her wedding anniversary. But Jen Winnagle, the ECNL Girls Commissioner, and Shelley Smith, the 20-year head coach of the University of South Carolina women's soccer team, on this week's Breaking the Line, the ECNL Podcast, and it starts after this message from the ECNL.
As the game continues to evolve in the United States, the ECNL remains the standard of excellence in youth soccer. The Elite Clubs National League has grown to include over 200 clubs and nearly 50,000 players across the country, with a robust competition platform for teams, educational resources for coaches and clubs, and unparalleled identification and development opportunities for players. Alongside its member clubs, collaborating to create a better future, the ECNL continues to raise the game every day. The ECNL is more than a league. Welcome back to Breaking the Line, the ECNL Podcast. Once again, here's Dean.
This is Breaking the Line, the ECNL Podcast. I'm Dean Linke, flying solo today. Up first is Jen Winnagle. She's been the ECNL Girls Commissioner for 5.5 years. She played collegiately at VCU, coached at Richmond, and Jen Winnagle, the ECNL Girls Commissioner, joins me now. Jen, thanks for being with us.
Dean, thanks so much for having me. Excited to chat with you a bit today and look forward to getting into the postseason here.
Yeah, well, you just finished up the ECNL Showcase North Carolina, 184 teams. So I want to start with that. I'm obviously doing this interview with you from North Carolina. There were teams everywhere. Give an update on how it went and the success of this past weekend.
This time of year, there's always an excitement. I know we're coming off of a very unique year with all the hurdles and obstacles thrown at everyone at different times. But ECNL North Carolina was a huge success. 184 teams, as you said. The weather was beautiful, a little hot for some of the New Englanders and people that aren't used to the humidity, but couldn't have asked for better Mother Nature kind of communication there. So ECNL North Carolina, we had over 900 coaches on the sidelines. It was unbelievable just to see everyone and have that energy back. We're getting back to that sense of normalcy in the ECNL worlds that we have. The grass, the playing surfaces was unbelievable. The city of Greensboro and the support that we received from the local club, NC Fusion, was top notch behind the scenes from day one and on through to the end. So I can't say much more than we were super pleased with how everything ran. Heard a lot of just positive feedback on the sidelines, having that extra boost of energy with the eyes watching and the evaluations happening on the sidelines. Just really, I think it motivated and helped the players. It was really, really good to see.
Yeah, let's dive right in there because you said eyes watching. We finally have the recruiting ban lifted. And the way I understand it, college coaches at all levels were there. You saw them, right?
A lot. And sometimes it's hard when you're on site to really peg out the number. We have registrations and all that. So we have a general idea, and over 900 did register. And I do believe that most of them were there, and coming off of a very lengthy dead period. All of them were up and down the sidelines. They're catching up with one another. They're like, wow, just getting back into it, seeing live soccer again. Those are the types of conversations I'm having with the college scouts. And it was great to see. And, I just kind of have to remind them, like, It's great to see your colleagues and get wrapped up. How is everything going? What does it look like for next season? Dealing with all of the other obstacles that they have to deal with now with COVID and the spring season and going back to the fall and everything else that lies ahead for the college world. It's like, don't forget to watch the girls that are playing right in front of you here. So get caught up in all of the reminiscing and all that. But it was unbelievable. You really did get a sense of the sheer volume of college coaches attending. Some of the sidelines, some of the DOCs that I talked to in passing, we had over 90 coaches at our game this morning. And it seemed like more of the DOCs and coaches were saying numbers such as that. So it was really just great to see.
And one of the things that happens when the college coaches are there, it changes the dynamic for these young women. They know it and they get amped up for it, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's hard. I mean, as a player, it's that feeling when mom and dad are in the stands or they're not in the stands, when college coaches are there, when a U.S. soccer scout is there, it does change, I think. And you kind of roll your shoulders back, hopefully, and you meet that challenge because these athletes, they're elite level athletes. They have been training their entire lives and continue to be students of the game. And, when you get to this stage and again, being this last chance to get a few more points to qualify, to be higher in the seeding and all of that, it helps. And if you can be one of the pegs in the entire circuit that can help bring that little bit more energy to get the result, whether it's 1 point or 3, then that's what matters. You could feel it. And that's the atmosphere that we've been missing due to this past year and everything that we've had to endure. But it's great to see that was back. And a lot of the sideline talk amongst parents, coaches, scouts, directors was that wow, just it's so good to feel like we're getting back to normal. It really did feel like that we could hit the rewind button and it's pre-COVID. It was great. And I think that going into the next month of the postseason and the 2 stages that we have, it's great that, again, 184 teams felt that this weekend. Now, let's double that as we go into the biggest event that the energy level, there's no shortage anyways when you're playing for something. And this is, for bragging rights, let's be the champion at whichever division that you qualify for. And I think this is just going to add another jolt to all of that.
All right. So walk us up to the next big event. Where is it? When is it? And tell us everything about it.
Well, loaded question. We have a couple of stages. We have the regionally championship events, which are actually happening this weekend. So in 4 days, they kick off. We have 3 of those championship events happening around the country, one in Houston, Texas, one in Raleigh, North Carolina. So back to North Carolina, but different city, and one in Somerset, New Jersey. So teams from regional leagues will come together to play for a championship. And the U15 through U17 age groups will then qualify into the ECNL Open Cup, which is one of the divisions at the ECNL National Playoffs. The ECNL National Playoffs is in about 2.5 weeks, June 30th through July 7th in Lakewood Ranch, Florida. So it'll be our first time for the ECNL girls going down to that complex, and really excited to bring our playoffs event, the largest event of the season, down there. And not only will we have the Open Cup, we'll have the Showcase Cup, North American Cup, and Champions League. There are different numbers of qualifying teams across the U13 to U18-19 age group. So over 360 teams. We'll also have a junior showcase event that's open to uncommitted players and teams that want to come and play additional games due to the fact that there were some restrictions and some may have missed some of the event opportunities that were outside of their control. So we also have this additional division of recruitable athletes that'll be happening in conjunction with our playoffs.
We're here with Jen Winnagle, the ECNL Girls Commissioner, now for 5.5 years, talking about the North Carolina Showcase as well as things that are coming up. I want to go back to what you said about NC Fusion. I've known Scott Wollaston a long time. I got to believe he was overseeing the entire thing. But obviously, to run a successful event, you need some coordination from big clubs like that. How important is that, Jen, and how does that all work?
It's really important. And through our history at the ECNL, we've been to some of these facilities for 10 years, and some of them are newer, and we constantly evaluate. Our events director, Marissa LeConte, does a fantastic job of sourcing out facilities, asking questions, going on site visits, just using all of our resources from directors to physically our events team going on site to see what's going on. And it's not only location, there's hotel logistics, the the Visitors Bureau, what are some of the things? Do we have a member club in that vicinity or a host club? The type of surface, the type of grass, how many fields, and in or outside of high school season for which conferences. So a lot of factors go into selecting the location, the facilities, and we work through all that. So Marissa and her team do a fantastic job. Gary Gardner was on site for NC Fusion and really kind of pulling a lot of the strings and leading the charge behind the scenes physically, and countless NC Fusion staff, coaches, parents, I don't even know all of them that were there and just made it very easy. So when we have this relationship, when we have a community and a facility that really wants to give back and be a part of the ECNL and our event series, it makes it much easier. I mean, we always want that. Doesn't matter if it's an ECNL member club or not, but they really went above and beyond along with the CVB and just the support that we got. It really makes our lives easier from a logistics standpoint. We went 5 years ago back when we had a composite event, but it's our first time hosting a national event there. And it was great. I mean, you look at some of the factors that led us to moving the event. It was a crunch timeline in our world because we like to plan as far ahead as possible. And I think they really nailed it on all levels from what we needed. And again, couldn't have asked for a better weekend.
So where was it supposed to be and when did you make the decision to move it?
It's been in New Jersey the past, I think, 10 years or ever since the ECNL started. So we've had a long lasting relationship with PDA and really on Memorial Day weekend. So that is the typical weekend and location for ECNL girls. With some of the restrictions that were still in place, we had to make this call between that 4 and 6 week mark. Marissa can tell you the exact date, but we made that call and it was the right call to make to ensure that we could have all of these teams participate and not have to worry about any kind of changes or restrictions either being lifted or tightened again. So that had a lot to do with the change of location.
I like the word back to normal because we're seeing that. You saw the Indy 500 and you saw 40,000 people watching USA Mexico. So we are getting back to normal. And I got to believe the parents, the coaches, the players, all of it, they had to feel so much better about being, quote, back to normal in North Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, again, I can't say enough of just when you're on site on an event, you're walking around, you hear a lot of things in passing, you have conversations yourself. I mean, even with it was in the mid 80s and humid, it's North Carolina. Even with all of that, it was nothing but smiles, great matches, everyone just happy to be there. So I really think that the energy that having college coaches on the sideline, a lot of these clubs, and I don't have the exact number, it was their first event for some of these teams of the year because of a million factors. So I think that definitely had something to do with that increased energy as well. And parents, it seems like there are more people, whether it's parents, grandma, grandpa, little brothers and sisters traveling as groups and families. And I think that's starting to change as well, just with everything, like you said, returning to normal.
Couple more questions as we're spending time with Jen Winnagle, the ECNL Girls Commissioner. 5.5 years, that's a really long run. And obviously you love what you do. Can you put into words why you love it so much working in this role as the commissioner for ECNL Girls?
Well, it's hard to put it into a few words, but I'll try to keep it brief. But at the ECNL, my time here, again, it's 5.5 years. It feels like we've packed 20 years into that, just with the evolution of the game, the changes we've made as a league, always with the player at the forefront and trying to make decisions behind the scenes at the board level and leadership discussions that impact the player and the future of the player, the youth player. It's fun to be around. It's fun to be on the administrative side and to try to be forward thinking, we are forward thinking, but making these decisions that are going to impact the next 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, and everything being so different on a day-to-day basis sometimes, but definitely annually, we're like each season where there's something else that we're tweaking, we're amending, we're adding, we're changing, and it's all for the right reasons to develop the best players.
That was also on display in North Carolina. As you know, I called about 28 games between the men and the women in the NCAA tournament. And one of the themes was, I think, 700 athletes that went through the ECNL programs for girls and boys played in the NCAA tournament. And this was a reduced NCAA tournament. So just imagine if it was the full field. I think that is another bright light. How proud are you of all these athletes that made it to the NCAA tournament, and the ECNL certainly was spotlighted during that time.
We love it. I mean, following these athletes through their journey, not only in the ECNL and celebrating and beyond. And, I don't want to misspeak. The ECNL doesn't develop the athletes, our clubs do. And we provide the platform and the tools, from coaching education to player identification opportunities, to hopefully elevate that experience and to be addition to what they're already receiving within their home club. So seeing these young women go on to play at the college game and to be so impactful at the higher levels is incredible. And I feel like a mama hen at times. I'm like, I'm so proud. It's like, I know all these kids. I've seen them play for 5 years, some of them, and not at the rate that their club does, but it's inspiring. And you just feel like it just reaffirms why I do what I do and why I love it so much, is that you're watching the joy on these women, these young athletes' faces. And as they continue to impact the game, and it comes full circle because it only helps the next generation. So as they move on from club to college to professional, and everyone has different paths and different timelines, it's only helping the next bunch. And youth soccer now compared to 10 years ago, night and day. It's just different. There are pros and cons to all of it, but there's an elevation in the standards, and that all around, on and off the field. And I think that really contributes to what we're seeing now, and why it makes our internal discussions on the daily so intriguing. And we dive deep into layers that we wouldn't even thought of. Some of these ideas are coming from coaches or players themselves, and we're like, well, the seed has been planted. Where are we going to go from here? So a lot of that is just rooted in what these athletes are doing and where they're taking it in regards to the game, whether they're playing and then moving on to coaching. We're seeing a lot of that. And again, the full circle and really giving back to the game is only helping the development and the level of the player.
I want to get to the coaching in two more questions here, but really big picture and kind of a softball, but I think it's definitely worth talking about as you see the development. And I feel like ECNL has played a role in it, but there's never been a better time for women's soccer, not just in our country, but in the entire world. NWSL is stronger than ever. Incredible ownership's coming in, expansion is coming in. Of course, the U.S. women are looking to win the Olympics and another World Cup. I feel like there has never been a better time to be involved in women's soccer in any way, shape, or form.
There's always something, right? And if it's not an Olympic or World Cup year, there's something else going on. And the NWSL and what they've done has been incredible over the last 12 months or so. Again, my COVID year kind of messes up my timeline. And you're seeing more ties, or at least I feel that way. You're seeing more ties back or up or sideways and in the soccer world, and just extending that ripple effect of what we're doing, especially on the female side. And we continue to just inspire, and there's more chatter. Everyone's talking about whether it's the pro level or the youth level or college, and what these young athletes are doing. And it's amazing to just be a small part of it, and to just stay connected and feel like we are moving in the same direction.
Speaking of amazing, we'll end it with this. Coming up after you is Shelley Smith, the longtime coach at South Carolina, where she's a regular around the College Cup or the Elite Eight. She's always getting the Gamecocks really deep in the NCAA tournament. Phenomenal coach. She coaches with her husband, who, by the way, they're celebrating their 25th anniversary today. And she was kind enough to join us on Breaking the Line, the ECNL podcast. I told her super romantic of her, Shelley, as they're headed down to Charleston to enjoy their anniversary. But I want to comment on Shelley, but even more than that, Jen, the thing that you told me is you saw a ton of women up and down representing their different universities. And I'm so happy about that, because you guys often say, if you can see it, you can be it. And now we're starting to see it, women as coaches as well.
Yeah. And Shelley, I'll be sure to reach out to her separately, but happy anniversary. And I actually met her over 10 years ago when I was on the recruiting trail myself. Shelley's been around the game for so long and had a successful career. And it's just great to see the longevity of her career alone. But like I said, looking around, and again, we haven't seen some of these faces on sidelines for 15 months or so, but I was just really pleasantly surprised, might be the best way to put it, of the amount of young female coaches I saw decorating the sidelines as college scouts. It's different. It looked, again, I don't have an exact number. It's just being there and seeing them pass through hospitality and watching games. There just seemed to be an increased number of young female staff members. And I think that's great. And the game needs to see that. And I don't know exactly why, like how that has shifted, but it's great to see that young females are getting into the coaching game, especially at the collegiate level, and giving back and kind of taking that next step. I know that a few of them were decorated collegiate athletes themselves, and here they are now coming to an ECNL event. Some are even alums coming to an ECNL event and watching the next generation and being a part of now the coaching cycle. So it's really, really plus as a female myself, having been in their shoes as well, like seeing it continue, and that there are more female coaches out there. It's great for the game. I think we need diversity, and we celebrate that here at the ECNL, and I hope that continues.
Always a pleasure hanging out with Jen Winnagle, the ECNL Girls Commissioner, who kicks off this week's Breaking the Line, the ECNL podcast. Jen, thank you so much for joining us.
Dean, thank you so much for having me. Good luck with Shelley. Tell her happy anniversary, and we'll catch up.
Perfect segue. Shelley Smith coming up on Breaking the Line, the ECNL podcast.
Nike is a proud sponsor of ECNL Girls. Nothing can stop what we can do together to bring positive change to our communities. You can't stop sport, because #you can't stop our voices. Follow Nike on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Soccer.com is proud to partner with the ECNL to support the continued development of soccer in the U.S. at the highest levels. We've been delivering quality soccer equipment and apparel to players, fans, and coaches since 1984. Living and breathing the beautiful game ourselves, our goal at Soccer.com is to inspire you to play better, cheer louder, and have more fun. Visit Soccer.com today to check out our unmatched selection of gear, expert advice, and stories of greatness at every level of the game. From athletes just starting to turn heads to some of the best athletes to ever play their games, Gatorade shows that they are the proven fuel of the best. For the athletes who give everything, nothing beats Gatorade, the studied, tested, and proven fuel of the ECNL.
Welcome back to Breaking the Line, the ECNL podcast. As you just heard Jen Winnagle say, happy anniversary, and welcome to Shelley Smith, who just completed her 20th year as the head coach of the University of South Carolina Gamecocks. And today, one day before this show is released, celebrating 25 years of wedded bliss with Jamie Smith, who also works with her on the team. So happy anniversary. I know it's a big year for you, 20 years at South Carolina, 25 years of marriage, and some other big number as well. We don't have to say that number, but congratulations, and thanks for joining us on Breaking the Line, the ECNL podcast.
Thank you, Dean. Yeah, it's a big year for sure. And I spent half my life with Jamie now, so that will tell you anything about my other big number. It's exciting, and glad to be here to celebrate.
Well, and I'm sure you also were glad to be on the fields in North Carolina. Finally, the dead period lifted. Can you just put into words what that meant to you and your program, and also the young women that you were watching?
Yeah, it was tremendous to be back. Obviously, it was nice to be able to play this year for many of the college teams, and know that these girls are out training and doing things. Well, obviously we couldn't be there, but they didn't miss a beat. It was nice to be back and see them playing and growing. And from what I could tell, a lot of players had continued to develop so well. So the ECNL did a great job to keep them going and building the game and continuing on our progress towards their dreams of playing probably beyond high school. And it was tremendous to see everyone out there again.
Yeah, I heard there was incredible bonding with the coaches as well, because you hadn't seen each other in so long, right? So sometimes I understand the coaches had to be reminded, hey, we're here to recruit, as well. But it was like kind of going home, right? Seeing everybody.
Oh, for sure. It was exciting. And it's a little, something you can look forward to on the weekend as well, that it brings back some normalcy to your profession, and to share your excitement with other people that are doing the same thing. And you got to get used to the endurance that it takes for a weekend of recruiting, sitting in that hot sun all day. I haven't done that in a while, so I got used to that again, but it was great. And really neat to see people out again. And like I said, it brings back some normalcy to everything about our profession.
You've had a lot of great moments in your 20 years, but Shelley, I think it is not overhyping to say women's soccer, and I think the ECNL deserves a lot of credit for it, has never been bigger in this country, let alone worldwide. And the fact that the NWSL now has stability and you have young women playing in the NWSL, it's pretty awesome, right, where we are right now. So it's got to make the recruiting even more fun because the talent level is out of this world.
Oh yeah, it is amazing to see the talent that you can watch, especially at an early age. And you think about where these players are, and see some of them like, well, they can come in right away, and that's an amazing thing to see players that still have a couple more years to go before they hit the field in college, and they've already developed at such a strong, fast pace. And it just does say a lot about the game and how much has been put into the youth game, their commitment, and where that's going to grow for the college game and then beyond in the professional leagues and our national team. So definitely exciting to see, and it was definitely proof this past weekend being back on the fields.
Let's talk about some of the Gamecocks in NWSL. Obviously, Savannah at Louisville doing incredible. I get to see Kaylee Kurtz as the voice of the Courage, and there's probably a few others that I'm missing. But you try to watch them, right? You try to stay connected when they're playing at that level, I believe.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Taylor Leach got back into the league this year, and she had been playing overseas for a while and had a tremendous header goal at the end of the game the other day, which was pretty outstanding. So it was cool to see. Tatum Milazzo just came back from ACL injury, recent grad from here, and has been playing with Chicago, which has been exciting. And we also have other players around the world and, trying to continue to play in the game. Sabrina D'Angelo, you may remember, was a goalkeeper here, was fantastic. And she's battled some injuries, but as Sabrina does, she always battles back, and she's been invited to some national team things now, which has always been her dream. And so it's just exciting to see, and we definitely try to follow them after they leave here, and always excited to see what they can do beyond the college game.
I actually called that goal Taylor Leach, by the way. I was calling that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, down in Florida in the final.
You know about it.
Yeah, they were down a player too, by the way, Shelley, and she
Yes.
scored in the final seconds, and she brought some stability and leadership as they pushed her forward. Was that the kind of player she was for you?
Oh yeah, just tremendous heart and work rate, and the player she became in the 4 years with us. I just always so proud of what she did, and I knew she'd be a professional. Just the way her attitude was, and how she faced the game, and her daily life, and how she prioritized things. So. And she's always so thankful for her time here. And it's a player that's kept in touch, and we're excited to see her grow. So, yeah, she's always been a true leader for us as a captain. And so happy for her to see her doing so well now.
I got to believe you're super proud of what some of your players are doing even away from the field. I think about Blakely Mattern, who I caught some games with, which makes me feel even more connected to you. Then I think about Kaylee Kurtz, who just posted all she's doing for playing for Pride this month during Pride Month as well, which is an important time, particularly, in our world today and in our country. Moments like that also have to make you proud, because sometimes it's more about just scoring goals and defending, right? It's about becoming young women and future leaders.
Oh, for sure. Yes, that's something I always say is the biggest thing that we look at here is building the person. We want them to be the best player they can be, obviously, but it's leaving the program better, but also being the best person you can be in your 4 years. That means being a top student athlete, doing the best you can in the classroom and off the field, and preparing for life after college. And as you know, most of them aren't professional in the game. They are in a professional world beyond soccer, and it's so neat to see them be successful afterwards. And that's what we strive for and build towards. And our team this year, I'm still amazed half the time about how strong they are in the classroom, but as a group at a 3.8 GPA, it just astounds me. And they're all going to be prepared and ready to go somewhere after college, and hopefully they play as long as they can, but they're going to go back on that education and everything they learned as a person during their years to help them be successful in whatever they're doing.
We're here with Shelley Smith, who just completed her 20th year as the head coach of the University of South Carolina Gamecocks, where my son actually spent some time as well. Let's go back to the ECNL just for a couple more questions, and we'll let you go and enjoy your anniversary, as we're truly grateful that you carved out about 15 minutes of your time. But obviously, Shelley, you've got the benefit of showing up and knowing where you got to go to fields, but the work that's done behind the scenes to allow 184 teams come to one market, the Triad in Greensboro. Just talk about how impressed you are with ECNL. And I mean, when they put on an event, Shelley, it's first class, at least from what I've seen so far.
Oh, for sure. It's always so organized, and the organization has been excellent.
Happy anniversary. Give Jamie my best as well.
All right, I will.
In Charleston, and thanks so much for being on Breaking the Line, the ECNL podcast.
Dan, thank you so much.
I want to thank Jen Winnagle and Shelley Smith, our guests, all the great people at the ECNL, including all the great people behind putting on the incredible events, including the ECNL Showcase North Carolina. For each and every one of them, as well as our producer, Colin Thrash, I'm Dean Linke. We'll see you in 2 weeks for another edition of Breaking the Line, the ECNL podcast.
ECNL Boys is partnering with Puma for the second year, driving sport forward with the leading products and the next generation of pros who wear them. Puma has proven themselves as the fastest sports brand in the world, the fastest innovation, the fastest players, and the fastest products in the game. They're the perfect partner to complement the speed and talent of our teams. In keeping with their mantra of forever faster, Puma introduces the world's fastest boot, the Ultra. The only boot engineered for speed, the Ultra combines a woven upper with a lightweight outsole for direct forward motion, speed, and acceleration. It's the best in the game, designed for the best players in the game. Thanks for listening to Breaking the Line, the ECNL podcast. For more information on the ECNL, visit us at www.theecnl.com. And if you have a suggestion for the show or a great idea for a guest, please email us at info@theecnl.com. Breaking the Line, the ECNL podcast is an ECNL production. ECNL, more than a league.